Earlier this year, I sold a house that I actually lost money on. I bought it in 2022, sold it in 2023, and ended up losing money. In this video, I'm gonna tell you the whole story of what happened, how it happened, and lessons that you can learn if you're new in real estate, if you're experienced in real estate, so this doesn't happen to you, because this was super stressful. This is gonna be a story of how I lost money on my first deal. So July 2022, summer 2022, we get a lead in our system from cold calling. The dude owns a house in Miami. And just a normal lead, so we call him, he's interested in selling a house. The price he wants for this house in Miami is expensive. It's not a good deal at all. So what I did was I asked him, hey, do you have any other properties or land that you're looking to sell? Super important question to be asking if you're talking to sellers, because I've done so many deals just off of that question. And he did. He had another house that he was looking to sell. The house that he was looking to sell was actually in St. Louis, Missouri. So I do almost every single deal in Florida, all across Florida: Tampa, South Florida, Orlando, Jacksonville, Tallahassee. I just do all over Florida. Florida's a great market. I know the rules, I know the laws, I know the contracts, I know the title companies. So I just like Florida. I've done other deals in Georgia, but Florida is where 99% of my deals come from. So I'm looking at this deal in St. Louis. The seller wants $190 for the house. It's a duplex. It's downtown St. Louis. It's crazy cheap, because in Florida the same house is like $300K minimum. You can't really get a duplex for under $200K a door nowadays. So maybe even $400K. So I'm like, dang, like that's cheap. The house is worth about $250. I was running the comps. I don't know the comps super well in this area, but you run comps in one area, you can run comps anywhere, except maybe like a non-disclosure. It's a little bit different. So I'm running the comps. It looks like it's worth about $250, and he wants $190. So I'm like, okay, I mean, depending on the condition, it's not a huge deal, but it might be something. Maybe he'll go down a little bit more. I could sell it for a little bit, around there, make 5-10 on the wholesale, call it a day, everybody's happy. So that's kind of like what I'm running the numbers based off of. So I'm looking at this house. I'm like, this is kind of a cool house. Like, it looks like a nice little duplex. And I'm looking at like PropStream, where you can see like the mortgage, and I see he owes around $130 on it. So he wants $190, he owes $130. So I call him back. I'm like, yeah, I see you have the mortgage, so you're looking at net around like $60. He's like, yeah, I'm just looking to get out from the deal. I asked him, I'm like, okay, I mean, would you consider something creative, like a creative financing offer? And at this time I had not done a creative deal. So this was a year and change ago. 2023 was really when I did most of my creative deals, but at this point I hadn't done one. And he says yes. So I'm like, okay, what if we did something creative where instead of us paying off the mortgage, we took over the payments on the mortgage? So this is called subject to. I've talked about this in other deals I've done in other videos. There's tons of videos online about it, like Pace Morby and all the guys that everybody knows if you watch anything real estate. And I love subject to deals. Like, I own a subject to Airbnb, I've done subject to wraps, I've done a bunch of stuff. So he says yes, he's open to it. I'm like, okay, great. He had a 2% note. He bought it in 2020. It was like super low. So it sounds good. It's like, okay, cool. So now it's like, how do you come up with the $60,000? Because if he wants $190, there's $130 mortgage. I need to pay him $60,000. So even though he agrees to subject to, it's still not that good of a deal yet, because still need to pay him the $60. We're trying to figure out like what we want to do. I end up asking him, like, what if instead of paying you the $60, we give you a down payment from that $60, and we make monthly payments on that $60, just for like a few years. We put like a balloon. And he ends up agreeing. I was actually really surprised he did. So he agreed to seller financing a portion of that $60. So at this point, what I did was, this was my first creative deal, and I was in some creative financing groups at the time. So I message in the creative groups. I start, meeting people, and I meet one person. I'm not going to say any names. I'm not trying to put them in a bad light. Like, they did their best on the deal, and nothing was their fault either. But I meet this one person. He's like, yo, I do creative deals all over. Like, send the deal to me and I'll help you structure it and everything. So he jumps in a call with the seller with me, and we're negotiating with the seller, trying to figure out what the down payment is, what the terms are going to be. And we end up negotiating a pretty good rate. So we end up negotiating from the $60,000 of equity that he would sell or finance $57,000 of it, which is pretty crazy. So that means we essentially got two mortgages. So the first mortgage of $130 and the second mortgage of $57,000. So in total, we got 2 mortgages for $187,000 with a purchase price of $190,000. So if you're doing the numbers, that means it's $3,000 cash to close. So if you're new, these numbers might sound a little overwhelming. Hopefully how I'm explaining it helps. But just essentially, we're taking over the payments on the first mortgage. So the first mortgage that he got with the bank, we're taking over the payments. And then the second mortgage, from the amount of the difference of the asking price and the mortgage, we're paying every month over a period of years. I think maybe it was like 5 years or 6 years or something. So we're gonna be paying that every month. It was maybe a couple $100 a month, maybe $1,000. I don't remember how much it was, to be honest with you. And I kind of like mentally forgot on purpose at the same time. So we agree to these terms and we actually get it in a contract. And I was like surprised. I'm like, man, like this guy actually agreed to this. This is crazy. So during this point, the person that I'm doing the deal with, we are doing a 50-50. So both our LLCs are on the contract. We're buying the property together and we're debating on what we want to do. So he's kind of handling everything. The deal was I bring the deal, he kind of structures the deal and gets it done, and we're splitting it 50-50. And I was down, I was learning. At this point, I learned a lot about structuring creative financing deals, how to do the transaction coordination and how to talk to the title company, how to explain to the seller and everything. So it was a good experience, and I was kind of just relying on the partner in the deal to kind of help me through it because he's done these before. So we closed on the deal, and now we're debating on keeping it as a rental. We talked about it all in the closing process, and we decided we're going to do a wrap. So what a wrap is we're getting the house that we just closed on, and we're actually going to sell that house that we just bought on seller financing. So what that means is now we're going to sell the house on monthly payments to somebody else that wants to live in it, and then they don't have to qualify for a mortgage, and we're going to be holding the mortgage essentially. In this case, we would be in the third position. So that means that there's different positions. So the first position is the mortgage, second position is the seller, and then the third position is us. So there's a little bit of a liability, but it's okay. So we listed on the market to sell it for the seller financing. We put in the description, seller financing available, and we list it. We bought it for $190, get like a $200K offer, $210 offer, 10% down. So like, let's say like 20-ish K down. That covers our $3,000 down and gives us a little bit of money to structure the seller financing. So that amount covers the amount that we're paying plus a little bit extra. So that means that we would get a down payment for selling the house. So we would make money selling it, and then we'll also make a little bit of cash flow. That was the plan. So now we have it listed on the market. We have a guy take pictures, the realtor lists it, and then we have the buyers come. We immediately get a whole bunch of interest. A lot of people were interested in the seller financing. It was a nice area. But then we start finding out one of the buyers goes into the basement and he says, did you know that there's black mold in the basement and like a family of raccoons living there? So not only black mold in the basement, but a family of raccoons living in the basement. And I call, the partner, he calls me and tells me, and I'm like, what do you mean? Like we didn't do an inspection of the house beforehand. Like I was just kind of relying on him to do it. I was kind of out of it. I brought the deal. So the realtor didn't see it either. Like the person that put the lockboxes on didn't see it. Like nobody smelt it. So there's really bad black mold. And black mold, not only does it look disgusting, but it's toxic to humans. And I don't think you should live in a house with black mold or any mold at all. Like I don't know anything about what was happening at this point. I was just kind of assuming it would get done. So we end up getting the raccoons out, and then we have a mold company go and see the mold to see like what it would cost to remediate it or clean it up or whatever you do to mold. And they quote us $15K because it's a duplex, and both units basements were like close enough together where the mold was in both, essentially, long story short. And it was really bad, and it would cost $15K, and I really wasn't in the budget. Neither one of us wanted to spend $15K. So we're like, what do we do? I still to this point don't know how we didn't do like a 4-point inspection or anything like prior to buying it. It kind of blows my mind, but it's kind of my fault. I have to keep the blame on myself. Like I don't want to blame anybody. I guess I should have stayed on top of it, but it is what it is. So the black mold is really bad. Every single buyer is scared away. No idea what to do. We have it listed, nobody wants it, and then we actually end up taking it off the market. So months go by, it's not selling, and we're bleeding money. We're bleeding, $1,500 to $2,000 a month, every month. Like, it's just money going down. It's like this house is like a ticking time bomb, just losing money. Like, it's not even rented out and breaking even. Like, nobody would rent it. It's destroyed. Like, the house is disgusting. And during this process, somebody actually vandalizes the house. Like, they break off the doorknobs and like steal our lockbox, and then go inside the house and break stuff and steal stuff. So it was just a disaster. Like, this deal was a disaster. Like, it's getting vandalized, there's black mold, raccoons, buyers are scared away. So we end up taking it off the market, and the person I'm doing the deal with decides, hey, you know, I think maybe a better approach would be to sell this off market to maybe like a Latino family that has capital but doesn't have credit and wants to live in St. Louis and wants to own property. So that's what we try to do. We try to just sell it on a wrap still. We're trying to do the wrap still. We sell it to a Latino company. They give us a down payment, and then, you know, we do those same monthly payments. Or, you know, we just want to break even at this point. Like, we don't even want to make money. We just want to break even. It's like 5 months in. So we try to do that. We have a bunch of people come. There's literally like no doorknobs on the house. So to see the house now, we have like instructions on how to like break into the house. It's like go through the backyard and then open the window, and, you know, the third window on the left, and you'll be able to get into the house. It's crazy. Like, it's actually insane. Like, thinking back, I'm like, oh my God, this is actually what we told people how to get into the house. So we have some people interested. We had a couple offers actually under contract, but they all fell through. One reason they fell through was the title company we worked with out in St. Louis was awful. I don't know why we worked with this title company. They were somehow recommended to us, but they didn't know how to do creative financing at all, really. And we got lucky with them on the first purchase where they were able to structure it. But on the second purchase with the wrap, or like us selling it, they were super confused. They had no idea what to do. So they kind of butchered the deal, telling the seller that they would be in, you know, like third, fourth position, and everybody got scared away. So they talked to the title company, they got scared away, they talked to us, they saw the house was scary, and they just didn't want it. So this house was cursed. At this point, I'm like, bro, this might be the worst deal. Like, this house is literally cursed. We had 4 buyers fall through. At this month, we owned it for way too long. We're going into 2023 now. We're bleeding money every month. It's an awful deal. No traction on selling it. Nobody wants it. Nothing is happening. I think we're close to losing, you know, up to 20K, which is stuff that happened to the house with the monthly mortgage that we're paying, with our cash to close. I mean, the only thing going for us was that entry amount was low enough where it's like, okay, at least we didn't pay like 20% down, 10% down to buy it. But this house is terrible. And I'm talking to the partner, we have a call, and he's like, yo, let's just foreclose on it, cut our losses. You know, it's like 20K, it's like 10K each. It's a lot of money, right? So it's like, I don't really want to just cut our losses. Like, let's figure this out, you know? He's like, bro, this isn't selling. Let's just cut our losses. It's a dead deal. Like, I'm like, bro, it kind of did because of you, you know, like, bro, like I'm the one getting kind of like stuck here. Like, I would have never done this deal. So I don't want to blame him, you know, good guy, still friends. But yeah, it was rough. And I'm like, bro, like, let's just go all in on this. You know, like, let's list it back on the market. Let's try to just sell it like cash. Let's try to sell it way underneath. At least, you know, even if we sell it at a loss, at least we're not losing 20K. So we agree on it, and we end up just going all in on selling this. I think we list it for like 190. So, you know, not even including like everything else that we, you know, did at that time. We listed for like 190, 200. And we had a couple people go to see it. Everybody hated the house, of course, because the house is disgusting at this point. Like, it's vandalized, there's black mold, like maybe the raccoons are back too. I don't even know. And it was a headache. But we end up getting a buyer that was really interested in the deal. No idea why. To this day, I have no idea why they wanted the house, but they really wanted the house. Like, they knew the area really well. So they give us an offer for like 190, 195, you know, cash. And we go through the inspection, we pass the inspection, you know, he's hard deposit, I'm in shock. And about a month or a month and a half after we list it, we actually sell it for like 195. And it's crazy, like, we actually sold this house. So we're losing a lot of money. So what we end up doing was luckily we have that seller finance. So we end up going back to the seller, and this is what the guy I partnered with did. So shout out to him for doing this, is he was actually able to negotiate with the seller to get a lower payment. So it's like, instead of us paying you, 57K over 5 years or whatever, we'll pay you it all right now, but we can only give you maybe 37K. You feel me? Like something lower. I don't remember what the exact amount is, but the seller actually worked with us and reduced his price, and we were able to, reduce that, sell the house, stop the bleed. All in all, we sold the house and we ended up, getting out of it. There was a lot of hiccups during that process. It wasn't all buyer gave us cash, closed on it. He was complaining the whole time and stuff, but he wanted the house. So in total, after all the monthly costs, after our cash to close, after lock boxes, realtor fees, everything, we lost 10K on the house. So we ended up splitting that 5K each, so we both lost 5K, which is a lot of money. 5K is, it's a few months of rent depending on where you live, or if you live in Miami, maybe 1 month of rent. But it's a lot of money, but it could have been worse. So it was a crazy deal. Lost 5K. It's my first time losing money on a deal, but that's the story of what happened. Some lessons I learned during it would be, don't trust all partnerships. I actually think it would be better of just to assign the deal and get out of it than partner with somebody. So don't trust partnerships, even if you know the person. Not everybody knows what they're doing, and just because they say they know what they're doing, they're networking, they're well known, they post on social media, it looks like they have their stuff together. Just be careful who you trust in business. Don't just automatically trust somebody because you've seen them online, because you've seen them post, because they've done deals with other people. One deal and it could ruin their credibility, and not every deal goes perfectly. So looking back, I wish I just wholesaled it. If you get into a deal like this, make sure you underwrite it, make sure you do a full inspection of the house. Don't just kind of trust that everything looks good. And if you can, make sure you have it in writing, what can happen and what goes wrong, and really have the rules clear, because there was parts where he thought I would do stuff, and there was parts where I just assumed he would do stuff, and we both just kind of butted heads on both of us not doing anything. So make sure the rules are clear. And overall, if you lose money on a deal, it's gonna happen. I think everybody at some point has lost money on a deal, and it just, it's business. It's just kind of one of those things where if you haven't lost money on a deal, you haven't done enough deals. So hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know your thoughts. What would you have done in this deal? Would you have just kept it at that point? Would you have foreclosed on it? Do you think we made the right decision? Should I have done something differently? Let me know your thoughts, and make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Thanks for watching.